Alright, I got me some blanks here, some mimosa wood, and this is the first time I've made a pen out of mimosa. I cut a tree up at my brother-in-law's last summer, and it got dried out, and I made my blanks and I stabilized them, and I just never have gotten around to making some pens. Well, the other day somebody asked me about my finishes and wanted to see some detail. So I figured this is the perfect time to do some of these mimosas, because normally I do 5 at a time, but I'm not going to film all 5 and the whole thing. I want to get them turned and ready, and one at a time I'm going to use my 3 finishes. One of them I use is the Odies Oil. I like the Odies Oil. It just leaves kind of a dull finish, but it's a real good protectant, and you can feel the grain of the wood in it. I'm going to use a homemade friction polish on one. You can see I got these marked out in 3 different areas, and I added an inch of the shellac, an inch of the boiled linseed oil, and an inch of the denatured alcohol. You mix it up real good, and you're good to go. You put on several coats of that while you're spinning it. And my most common I use is the CA glue finish, which I always use the stick fast medium. I found that worked best for me, so that's what I use on all these. So I'm going to cut them up and do all the tubing. I'm not going to video it, but I'm going to get everything ready, and when I start turning, I'll record them, and that way y'all can see exactly how I get them all finished and show you the end product. Y'all just enjoy the video. Alright, now the graininess of this mimosa, kind of like an oak, it I guess isn't ideal for some of these other finishes as far as pens, in my opinion, but we're going to try it anyway and just see how it turns out. Oh, what I got here is some of this Odies oil, and this you just buff on and buff off. Oh, we'll take, and I got some of this white Scotch Brite, which is real fine Scotch Brite. Get you a little just dab of it on the tip, and you can work it into the grain. And work it back and forth with the grain into the grain. And it don't take much, it goes a long way. And this stuff is kind of expensive in my opinion, but then again, in my opinion, everything's kind of expensive. But and you just work it in, work it in, work it in. And then we'll let it sit for about 10 minutes and penetrate, and come back and buff it off. Work it in a little bit more here. And that's all that Scotch-Brite does, is just work it into the grain. Okay, we've let it sit for about 10 minutes. That gives enough time for that to penetrate down in the wood. And we'll just turn it on and buff it out. And there you go, that's the Odies oil. And that there, it leaves a natural finish on the wood. That shine will dissipate a little bit over time and just leave a just kind of a natural wood look. But it's a real good protectant and stabilizer. Of course, the wood's already stabilized, but I think I'm gonna like this Mimosa. Okay, now the next finish I got is my homemade friction polish. Now this is just, I got it measured out in inches. That way I can do 1/3 with my shellac, 1/3 with my linseed oil, and 1/3 with my alcohol. Now, if you have something that you mix up like this and it sits on the shelf for over 6 months and starts turning dark, it's time to throw it out. You ain't gonna get the same finish. This stuff is pretty inexpensive to make up. Just keep all your ingredients separated. And my wife got these little bottles at one of her little flea market, dollar store type places. You just mix it up and you're ready. And when I'm using this stuff, I like to just put it on real good and thick, because I don't care if it's stabilized or not, it's still going to soak it in there. And you have the alcohol in it, which is going to evaporate. But this will give you a good liberal coating, and it'll soak into that external surface on the wood. And once you get that, turn it on, get your speed up high, and get it good and hot as you put this on. Put it on a little bit. Wipe it off a little bit. Put some pressure on. Wipe it off. Okay, now you can put as many coats of this as you want on there. I like to put 8 or 10 coats good, and you can either use the rag like I was using, or you can use a paper towel like this. All right, when you get the shine that you're happy with, now the friction polish will have a more of a shine to it than the Odies oil, but it won't have the reflection type shine that you get with the super glue, which is next. But a lot of people like to feel the texture of the wood when you're making these wooden pencils, and if you want to feel the texture, this is a good way to do it and still get some shine out of it. Now, I want to remind you that this shellac is alcohol based, which means you get alcohol and chemicals on your hands and then on your pen, and it could take away from the shine over time. And that is the only problem I have with these finishes, because by trade, I'm a mechanic. So I'm always working on something, getting dirty in my hands, and I always carry one of these in my pocket. Well, every time you reach down and grab it, well, you're getting that on the wood, and over time it kind of just depletes the shine of it. So just keep that in mind, and if you're making them for others, make different finishes, because people like different things. But I like that friction polish. That does make a pretty good pen. It gives you a real good feel. Alright, now I had a subscriber wanting to see how I did this in real time and what I did, because he was having issues. So I just get a paper towel here. You got to excuse the fan blowing, and fold it up and cut that fan off. Fold it in half, and in half, and in half. Now I use this CA medium. Now his comments were saying he was having problems with his finish cracking during assembly or later on. I have had issues with some of the cheaper varieties of CA glue and the thicker glues. Really recommended to do the finish is the fine, because you put down multiple coats of a thin layer. So if you go with a CA thin or fine, whatever they call it, that is the best. But since I use the same glue for gluing the pins, gluing the blanks in, and for the finish, I go with medium, and I haven't had an issue with this yet. And I also haven't, I like the same thing with the activator. So usually I'll put down one to get it soaked in. I'll spray the activator. I put a few coats of the glue, more activator, and a few coats, and you can touch it and feel if you're dry or not, or if you need the activator to go ahead and dry it out before you put on some more. But I'll put between 6 and 8 coats of this on, and sometimes I even have to recoat it because I sand it down too much. But I'm going to show this in real time, that way they can see this. I don't know if you can tell here, but there is kind of an orange peel look whenever you get that on. So what I do is I like to take a 600 and lightly touch it, and 1000 grit, and then I'll start on my pads. And normally I take a good look at it here, make sure I got it smooth from one end to the other. And this works really good on your grainy wood because it kind of fills in any of the low spots on the grains of like your oaks, your hardwoods, your nutwoods like pecan, and a little bit of your hickory. Because it's just a grainy wood, and sometimes you just see the low points in there, and this will fill it in. But once you get that smoothed out, then we're going to get our pads here, and we're just going to work through them, and it don't take that long for that. And I always got my water over here, and yes, I get water on my lathe, and a lot of people don't like that, but that's just the cost of doing the work. You know, that's another reason why I have old stuff, because you ain't got to worry about it being pretty all the time. It's old stuff. As long as it works, we're good. Now, while I'm pleased with the finish on this here, sometimes it just don't have that real shine you want. So I got it's just a buffing compound that they use on car polishes and to get rid of scratches and stuff. It's just a mild buffing compound, and you can just rub that on and rub it off, and that'll make that shine pop. I mean, it'll make that finish just come to life and give you that mirror finish. Sometimes I use this and sometimes I don't. And that's all it takes for that. And there you go, that's your CA glue finish. And I really like this finish. It's an extremely durable finish. I found it worked real well as long as you use the right glue and put on thin coats. Okay, I got all three of my pins here. This is the ones we did with the Odies oil, like I say, that's going to leave just a natural looking finish and a natural wood feel. And it also has a pretty good smell to it too. That stuff smells pretty good. It got that lemony scent. And it's supposed to be 100% all natural. So good, safe for the environment. Then we have the friction polish, which the denatured alcohol evaporates. And then you have the shellac, and you have the linseed oil, which both of them are all natural, so that's another all natural finish. And that has you can get varying degrees of shine with it. And then you have the CA glue, which is my favorite because I am hard on things. And with that CA glue, the finish off this metal will start going bad before the finish on the actual wood. You know, with all the sweat and debris and grease and grime of everyday use of a working man. So, and I got 2 left that I didn't make yet, but this is the 3 different finishes that we was going over today. So just, shoot me a line. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like, what you didn't like. I hope, like I say, this is just what I use to finish them. Other people will do different things. If you know a different finish or a different way of doing it that may be better, please leave me a comment. Let me know. I'm game. I try new things when it comes to that. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. That's okay. Yeah. I appreciate you watching anyway. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. I'll see y'all later.